What if McDonald's is not really a burgers business? And what if Disney's biggest lesson is not about entertainment at all? The answer to all three is connected to one powerful idea. You have to know how to see what other people don't see. Because when the average person looks at a business or a company, they see the product. But when an investor looks at the same company or the business, what they see is assets, systems, leverage, intellectual property, distribution, opportunities, and multiple ways to make money. Welcome back to another book review Monday. I am Felicia Frederick. Today we are talking about a chapter from the book Billionaire Mindset, and I am going to share some of the biggest lessons from this chapter that changed the way I think about business, money, and investments. What is in this chapter titled The Hidden Plain Sight about? One thing I find interesting about this chapter is that it doesn't simply tell you work hard and become rich. It challenges you to think in a different dimension because becoming wealthy isn't just about how much work you put in, it is also about how you see opportunities, how you understand the opportunities, how you identify the real opportunities, and how you position yourself to participate in those opportunities. Let's start with McDonald's company. When you hear McDonald's, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Burger. Exactly. But according to the chapter, McDonald's has a much deeper business model involving franchising and property. And this is where the investor's mindset begins. The average consumer sees McDonald's business as a business that is into food business. But an investor asks, what are the different ways this company creates and captures its worth? That's a different question because behind the burger business, there is a system, there is a brand, there is a franchise model, a royalty, and massive customers network. Now to the Apple company. The Apple story in this chapter is fascinating. When the iPhone was introduced, telecommunication companies already control much of the infrastructures. They had networks, they had spectrums, they had customers. But Apple didn't need to recreate the entire telecommunication industry. Instead, Apple found a way to position itself at a more high-worthy point in that ecosystem. And that is a very powerful investment takeaway. Sometimes you don't always need to own the whole system, you need to own the right part of the system. Think about this from an investment perspective. Every industry has an economic chain. There is production, there is distribution, there is technology, there is financing, marketing, customers' data, and so on and so forth. So the question you should ask yourself is, where is the worth of this investment or business concentrated? And who controls that part? That is how you start thinking like an investor rather than a consumer. The chapter then gives us this Disney as another example. It talks about Disney's underground infrastructure, the system that helped maintain the environment without disrupting the consumer's experience. And that is the point. Know how to see what other people refuse to see. The opportunity may not actually be hidden. You need to know how to see it and how to search for it. And this also applies to investing. Two people can look at the same business or company and see it in a different perspective. One might see their product as being famous, the other might see it as they have a strong recurring revenue, asset, and a powerful brand and a competitive advantage. Same company, different eyes. That is the mindset. This is where I think the book becomes even more relevant. See something as simple as property. Someone may just say it's just a property, but an entrepreneur or an investor may ask, what can this property become? Could it become residential property, commercial property, agricultural production chain, or a rental asset, or even a development project? So, those are the questions you should ask yourself as an investor when you first see a property. My honest opinion about this chapter can be categorized into these 7 benefits I'm about to give in this video. First, see beyond the obvious. When people are seeing just a product, when people are seeing just a business, see what this business can become. Second, understand how money is actually made. Then, third, focus on ownership. Don't spend your time focusing on how it is being generated, how the business generates income. Think about how you can own the business. Fourth, the most worthy part of a business may not be its most visible part. Five, think in systems. Build things that can continue creating worth beyond their immediate effort. Sixth, understand the worth chain. You don't necessarily need to own everything. Find the part where you can capture significant importance, like Apple company. Number 7, train yourself to see opportunities not the way other people are seeing it. Sometimes the opportunity is not hidden. You just need the right perspective that can change how you see the opportunity.